So next up we have Sven from Docker, and you can be talking about Docker Swarm.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Take it away.
Okay, so the first question I have is to recap the first thing. How many of you have actually installed Docker? No, okay. How many of you have not installed Docker? Okay, how many of you have not done a Docker run and played around? All right, okay. All right, so I was going to demo the new hotness that isn't quite released, that's in the latest release candidates, which is a new swarm mode, which kind of makes what all this ECS stuff look a little bit complicated to me. But then I still have a stack of servers at home from when I used to be a consultant, so I don't use AWS very much. So what I did to set up for this demo was just to install the experimental version of Docker. And I mean, just to show you, basically that one highlighted command, I am running something that I'm curling from the internet because I can. Right, so I know where that comes from and all that sort of stuff. And I read the script more than enough. So I have now 5 virtual machines out there on Amazon that just have Docker installed. I pulled a few things to make things faster, but to give those of you who haven't played with Docker a quick introduction, I can do something like Docker run, ignore the --rm. What it does is delete the container after I'm finished with it. IT gives me a TTY session that makes it interactive, and then I can go, well, this is an Ubuntu box, but I happen to prefer Debian. So I'll run Debian, and now I can go apt-get update, and it will pull down packages. I can install stuff, and when I exit this container will disappear. So everything I do in here is safely contained in what is not quite a virtual machine, and it's different because you get to do something like this. There's nothing in here. It is just bash. Now if I go outside here to the host operating system and do a PSAUX, I can find this specific bash running in the host system. I'm not running like a virtual machine, the whole operating system. I'm not virtualizing the host. It is just a contained process with virtual networking, virtual process tree, virtual access to I/O, and not by making a fake version like virtual machines. It's accessing the real kernel. So it's basically just using kernel functionality to limit a processor's or a set of processors' visibility outside itself. And that leads to all sorts of fun things, like the one that I did wrong the last time I did this, which is to go like that. I now have a dead system, like this sort of thing. So long as I can successfully exit, I'm fine. Last time I did this on the host box because I didn't notice, and well, you know, it was a cattle I blew away and started a new one. Don't care. Okay, so this is one of them. So I can go and do a Docker run and do some port mapping. And here we go. We now have a bit of web stuff, and that was probably s0.fomgy. And I should now have, voila, superb. So if I go off to the next one and do Docker run, I just happen to know what these things are called. And I'll do this wrong because instead of doing it in the foreground, I'll do this as a daemon. Now if I go Docker PS, it will tell me that I have a container running Apache, but I haven't hooked it up to any ports, which is a bit of a mistake, because it means nobody can access it unless I happen to Docker exec into it. So there's a whole series of little commands that I can do. And yeah, I just kill this. All right, so that was a stupidly fast intro to the functionality that the core Docker daemon gives you. After that, we've started adding orchestration and all sorts of other fun things like this new swarm mode. But before I get to that, so I have an app here that I've used Docker Compose. Do I have a Docker file? Yep. And I have this Docker file that uses some of our magic to pull down an image that contains all of the Golang toolkit and then automatically builds whatever Go files happen to be in this directory. And of course, being lazy, oh no! Yeah, to tell you a fun story, this was all working beautifully 4 hours ago. And then I killed the networking and I killed all my virtual machines and started again. I forgot to pull this. So here we go, we're pulling the images from the Docker Hub and now it's going off and building. Now this tiny little web chat app has a Golang app in it that sends out on port 80 both the HTML that you're going to see and also has a WebSocket, but then wants to talk to a Redis backend. Now, I don't have Redis installed or anything here. Instead, what I've done is I have set up a Docker Compose file that has two services in it. The WebSocket one that has the web server and a Redis server, and that's it. And the only other thing I've done here is I've said I want to map port 80 in my socket container to port 80 on my server. So I can go Docker Compose up, and we go off and create a Redis server and that sort of stuff. And now if I do this, I have a chat app, which hopefully will work. There you go. Actually supposed to tell me just a little bit more. Bygones. All right, now I want to scale this thing because for some reason my web server can't do that much. So what I could do is manually go off and run compose up on all of these things, or I could use an SSH for loop and all sorts of other hideous things. Apparently other people are saying hi. Okay, I'm going to kill this though. I did this in a PHP conference and PHP app that I had written, and first time I'd ever done in PHP. And guess who didn't do any XSS fixes? They had just done a course on testing cross-site scripting. Okay, so now I'm going to create my swarm. And this is all there is to it. I'm going to make this guy a swarm manager. Look at that. I can now go Docker node. And if anybody, there we go. I now have one. And now I'm going to go off to the others. And this is pretty much the last time I'm going to go and talk to my machines. Docker join, swarm, join. So this worked. Right, I now have two. Let's take this. So XSH works. Ooh, that worked real well. Thanks. Free. That's just fascinating. And the last one. My fourth box. Okay. Put back my leader. Okay, so I have one leader. If anybody can remember how, I can't. I can also go and tell somebody else to be a leader, but I can't remember how. That's probably Docker node. There we go. So if I go to Docker node ls and go node, what was the last one? Interesting side. See, I need a. Alright. Now I have a swarm of 5 boxes that I can go off and run stuff on. Now I can go and create a service. If only I can remember how. At the point where the demo guys remind me that I've only used this once or twice. Let's call it web. How many do we want? Okay. Do you want to do anything else? Yes, we want to publish a port. That's always good. Do we want Nginx or Apache? Anybody care?
Apache.
See what happens. Okay, so I've got a web service here with apparently 10 replicas. And if I go Docker PS on this machine, there happen to be 2 on this box and 2 on this box and so on. And if I go back over here and run over here, this is our first box. Then I've set up round robin DNS, which apparently was caching. These are actually hitting probably the same one because we have browsers doing clever things. I could probably use curl to go and hit each individually and then figure out what the heck, but yeah. So suddenly we have the ability to create a scaled service. Now one thing I should point out is that I just did this manually by creating some EC2 virtual machines and running Docker. There is this new thing by my company, funnily enough, where we now have this thing you can install directly from Amazon, Docker for AWS, which sets up a big cluster of Docker Swarm mode beasties. And I'm presuming that you could add the new Docker data center stuff to it, so you have a web interface and all the singing, dancing stuff. But as an open source dev, I kind of like this end of the story. So I can now scale this because it's not fast enough. I mean, too fast. Ooh, I did this from the wrong box. Sad.
Question.
Yep.
You hard mapped port 80 when you went minus P8080.
Yes.
So what's happening? They're all trying to grab port 80 on the parent host?
No.
Oh, what's happening?
Very good question. And yes, I forgot. All right. So in the original version, what I did is minus P8080, and what that did is it meant that that container was listening directly on the host's port 80. But with the Swarm mode, you can't afford to do that because we have 10 of them on 5 hosts. So instead what's happening is that the Swarm mode code, so the Swarm daemon itself, is doing load balancing to all of these containers. So one thing I haven't tested, but I'm going to assume, is that if I create another service that's on port 80 and do publish on port 80, I effectively have A/B testing of 2 different services which will randomly get sent out on port 80 of each of these hosts. And so one of the cute things is that every single one of my nodes is listening on port 80 because I've published this service on port 80, and then that gets routed to all my containers wherever the heck they are. And obviously you can then have front-end guys that you have set up that your firewall allows people to access, and then others that are behind the scenes, and then you have swarm workers and so on. So you could make your network topology pretty much anything you want.
Docker PS on one doesn't.
Yes, we did.
Oh, you did?
But we'll do it again, happily.
Sure.
Okay, so that's one of my nodes.
Oh, yeah,
So-
that's one.
yeah. Now, somewhere I was going to go Docker scale, maybe service scale, webs equals. Do you want me to show any more things, or do you want me to stop here? Because I can stop here just by putting 1,000,000 in and just waiting.
Can you
But
make it again?
this may well do that.
Oh.
This may have been why it broke. Now, Nginx, the containers were, as in the container images, were already on all of my 5 hosts. With Amazon, Docker for Amazon, it does auto scaling, so you could have set it up to say, actually, I don't want more than 3 workers on any of these, so I'd end up having a lot more.
Can you scale by an amount rather than scaling to a specific amount? So can you add 10 rather than just
Pass.
Yeah.
I have spent exactly 3 hours on this so far. Let's find out. For you, thanks.
No, it's just
Let's just say no and leave it at that. But, like that.
You can run a script with LS.
yeah, work out what it currently is and add that.
Yeah, but I think. Okay, so that was fun. Apparently, let's see if it still works. Okay. And I should also be able to go to one of the specific computers, and apparently caching is caching. There we go. All right. I'm going to clean up now.
So let's just say I'm like you and I don't like Amazon.
Yep.
How do you, can you get it to do that without requiring everything to be private addressing? Can you have it just pure layer 3 IP? Or does it all have to go through some sort of NAT translation?
I think that the way that Swarm mode works at the moment, it's going to do its load balancing bidding from, so that you can have more containers than you have physical boxes without having virtual machines. Because in the end, what you're trying to do is say, I have 40 web servers all listening on port 80, despite the fact that I only have 10 IP addresses. And you can only have 10 port 80s if you've only got 10 IP addresses. So
it's going to make the load balancer listen to the world,
yep.
and then manage all of that internally.
In fact, because I broke this stuff, right now I have nothing listening on port 80, but if I go and create that service again,
so you don't have any abstraction for routes like OpenShift and Kubernetes does, so that you can have multiple services that are load balanced by Swarm?
well, that's the thing. That's what you've got right now. Well, I've created one service, but I have this sneaking suspicion that if I create another service and publish it, it'll do it as well. If not, obviously you have to put some middleware layer in because, yes, it's not that old yet. I mean, this is coming in this next release, so this is release candidate stuff.
So like if I've got two web services that have got different DNS names or vhosts,
Yep.
but we're sharing IPs,
Yeah.
can Swarm handle that on the same port?
I don't.
It uses an overlay network.
Yeah, overlay networking. But there doesn't seem to be anything that I can think of that gives you the ability to control that at the Docker or Swarm level. It's more that you would map port 80 to a web server that would do that. So you'd have your own Nginx that then does the proxying.
What's that question he's trying to...
Effectively make a virtual host proxy, but do it at the Docker level rather than have a web server that does it.
Like having HA proxy with a route concept, like what Kubernetes does.
Yeah, I don't think that that's pass. It's too new. You know, I don't know the corners well enough yet. It's been fun. I was mucking around like this for a few hours and suddenly killed my network entirely. So it's new.
Also, talking about Kubernetes too, also know that if one of the containers, for instance, dies, Kubernetes does self-healing. You need to make sure that you only maintain that number of replicas, but we get that with Swarm too.
Okay, so you're asking basically if I have Docker service ls, I have 10 right now. I have 2 of them on this box, so I should be able to go Docker rm -f. So as far as I know, what's supposed to happen now is the default restart policy should kick in, and it should go, well, I've got 9, I need 10, so I'll go off and start another one. And so it's gone, done it again. So if you go Docker service create, one of the fun things that's there is you can change the restart conditions and the delay and all those sorts of things. And what you can do with that is that then you can say Docker service update and tell the web service to run a different image, and it will go off and do that, and it'll kill the original image and then bring up a new one, and it'll use the restart delay to then restart those every 10 minutes or whatever. Oh, there's an update delay, sorry. Mostly this is stuff I haven't played with yet.
Is there kind of Docker Compose for Docker Swarm? So you could
This
say...
is the next thing. So, yes. Okay, so Docker service, RM, web, Docker PS. I have nothing, thankfully. Okay, so I have here a Docker file and a Docker compose file. If I look at the Docker compose file, we select before, I can now go Docker compose. I can't type anymore, sorry. Alrighty. This is supposed to convert my compose file into a Docker application bundle file. I think that's what it's called now. Last week it was called a DSB file, now it's called a DAB file. Alright, here we go. And this contains effectively the same sort of thing, but it contains a specific Docker image from the hub, or two of them in this case, the Redis one, and it tells you what specific SHA, so this is an immutable image, and later on you can upgrade that so you can run a new one, you know, that sort of thing. And it says what ports these things are in. It looks essentially like a slightly nicer version of the Docker compose file. Is that rude? I don't like YAML very much. Okay, and now I can go Docker deploy chat, and we now have two services. And our chat service is not yet up. Let's see, are we here? No, not local. Ned. Is it Docker task? No. Should love it when you can't remember the name of the command. Okay, Docker service tasks. And it was chat socket. And this will tell us where it's running. And so I could go over here and go to Docker PS, and it's actually up. All right, so now we have one instance of this, and you're supposed to be able to see it on all nodes. Right now, of course, good. Right, this is the beginning of the problem that I hit, where basically my networking started to not work. One thing I did notice, however, is that if I go back, I can go, I'm on the right, I'm on the right box, so I should be able to go Docker, service, scale, chat, socket equals 10, and eventually this seems to kick things into gear a little better. So I think this is taking some time because it's actually having to pull this image, and because it's based on a generic image, it's massive. In fact, let's have a look. Yeah, sorry, 800 meg. It takes a while though. In production, obviously, you would use a much smaller image. It would not be like me. Well, that's just talent. See if anybody works. All right. I will just hope this works for a bit. Obviously, by release time, this should never fail, and I presume if you were to purchase Docker for AWS, then it would work first go rather than
Trust me.
No, trust those guys. Yep. How long do I have?
We've got about 5 minutes, so time
Okay.
for some questions or...
All right, so there's one other thing that I thought I'd show you guys because you're interested in maintaining these sockets, and that is that in this release, you also are able to restart the Docker daemon or upgrade the Docker daemon if you have a specific parameter set with your container still running. I didn't set this setting, so I can't show you that. But it's there. It's like, So I came across the documentation for this just today, and then the shit hit the fan, so I didn't try it out. But you know, it's like this stuff is slowly becoming sane and magical. And to boot, I now have this lovely way of basically, I have a container that breaks out of the container and then does operations to the host file system. So it bind mounts the host file system and then does a ch root. And so I could write a script like this and have it go and do this to all of my boxes. So I have a makefile that will go and do a service create with the right number of replicas and go off and do all of this. And this is how I install shit these days. I basically get my swarm up and running and then write containers that roll out these things. So I should be able to go make run, and I can't spell. I was trying to be tricky. I don't know if this will. Now I should be able to go Docker service ls, and I have 4 of these things, and like the last thing I did in each of these containers was to tail a file that isn't changing, so these containers will sit there and still be there. So I can go Docker ps, and there it is, and Docker log, this guy, no, this guy. There we go, it's gone off and installed stuff. I can't do it anymore. So effectively I can configuration manage my Docker hosts using Docker and Docker Swarm, and I can use Docker Swarm to run my services magically, do fun things. All right, and the last thing I really wanted to talk about is there will be another Docker meetup, a hackathon in 2 weeks' time. Please come. I'm hoping we can play with that installer and maybe with some ESP 80266 microcontrollers and make them part of Swarm. Yes, questions?